Millions of years before the creation of human beings, and light years away from your solar system, in the 19th galaxy called Ilion, there is a 3-star solar system, in which the 8th planet of this tri-star system is called Rizq. The planet Rizq is inhabited by beings called the Rizqians. The physical appearance of the Rizqians is very similar to that of human beings, except their eyes are somewhat slanted and slightly larger than human beings. They have a dark reddish brown to olive tone skin complexion, silver, white, to black hair color, wavy to kinky hair texture, and they have the ability to communicate telepathically and in tones. The word Rizq means to provide, much like the planet Earth provides natural resources to Earthlings for survival. Beings from the planet Rizq are respectfully called Rizqians, meaning providers. The Rizqians have a kind yet stern nature. The society of the planet Rizq is 100,000 years more advanced than the planet Earth. The Rizqians do not die, as they have discovered the cure to death long ago. For fun, the Rizqians have parties, listen to music, dance, and watch holographic TV. The planet Rizq itself is 10 times larger than the planet Earth, and the planet Rizq is made from clear quartz crystal, which causes the atmosphere to have interwoven rainbows. The 3 suns of the planet Rizq are red, yellow, and blue stars, which form a tetrahedron of energy around Rizq. An equinox for Rizq is when all 3 of its suns move completely around the universe once. Rizq has a very abstract orbit which looks much like an atom. The 3 suns also rotate and move. As Rizq passes by the 3 suns, it goes through 3 nights in 1 day. There is a certain point that is called the bright day, where the light from all 3 suns shine on the planet from all sides. At this point, the red sun star is 45 million miles from Rizq, the yellow sun star is 81 million miles from Rizq, and the blue sun star is 27 million miles from Rizq. There is also a point where all 3 sun stars are at an equal distance from Rizq at the same time, and it is at this point where all native Rizqians live by the law of 1 meal a day, which means they eat once in 3 years, which is once a year, which is once a day. This perfect point is also the hottest and brightest point, also called the full light or unilateral point of the year. At this same point, native Rizqians transform from Rizqian to Etherian, and from Etherian to Rizqian. The Etherians are pure light energy beings, or what you would call spiritual or angelic beings. They do this just 1 time within their 1 year, which is 3 years, because they have 3 suns. The planet Rizq also has 1 moon called Chishki, which is 9 million miles from Rizq. The planet Rizq has 3 continents called Zarantu, Darnurniya, and Kusmusta. The name of the continent Kusmusta means chosen black land, the name of the continent Darnurniya means dwelling of light, and the name of the continent Zarantu means visitor's abode. On one fateful day, this planet Rizq was visited by beings from a dying star, and this visitation would lead to a chain of events which would impact the entire universe. The visiting alien refugees to the planet Rizq were welcomed into the great empire of the Rizqians with open arms. It was decided by the governors of Rizq that the distressed alien refugees to their world could share one of the 3 continents on the planet Rizq. The visiting alien refugees were only allowed to live on the continent called Zarantu. In time, these visiting alien refugees to the planet Rizq decided that they wished to rule the whole planet, and even the whole galaxy. The leader of the visiting alien refugees was a being who ruled a variety of star systems such as Draco, Aldebaran, Betelgeuse, Pleiades, Andromeda, and others, and now wished to also rule the planet Rizq and the entire 19th galaxy Ilion. The visiting alien refugees destroyed the shield which was protecting Rizq, which enabled more malevolent beings to come to the planet, making the planet temporarily uninhabitable until Rizq could be restored. In the great city of Rizq called Sikine, which sat on the banks of the Gundan River, the scientists of Rizq came together to construct a planet-sized starship which would take the native Rizqians to temporary homes throughout the galaxy until the malevolent force could be driven out of Rizq, and the planet Rizq could be restored to peace. Many Rizqians departed to other galaxies and star constellations. Some Rizqians temporarily made their home in Pleiades, Orion, Arcturus, and even on your planet Earth, calling it a home away from home. In time, the malevolent alien refugees were removed from Rizq, and the peace and harmony of the planet was restored. However, eons had passed, and generations of Rizqians were born in other solar systems, in other galaxies, and on other planets. Risk Tech. Providing the multiverse with technology for 76 trillion years. Rahu Bhatt. Anuki Rukaya, Chief Technology Officer and Director of Aerospace Engineering at Risk Tech.
Waanuki Razi Al, the 15th of the 24 elders, leader of the valiant and courageous Ophanim, referred to as the wheel seen on Ezekiel's vision of the chariot, and I am the CEO and founder of Risk Tech. Risk Tech was founded 76 trillion years ago as a multinational technological defense contracting company created for a secret mission from the planet Risk to the planet Kolk, the fourth planet in the 12th galaxy. Over the years, Risk Tech has grown from a multinational corporation to a multiplanetary, multigalactic, multiversal, and multidimensional entity. Risk Tech now operates as an agency of the Risk-Ian Department of Defense responsible for the development of new technologies for commercial and military applications.
Risk Tech has been responsible for developing many technologies which have had a major impact on intergalactic travel, transportation, and conveyance across the universe.
One of our earliest crafts was called the Mother Plane, a massive wheel within a wheel, planet-sized spacecraft, which appeared as a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, and contained 1,500 smaller bombing planes which spanned 1/2 mile by 1/2 mile each, and carried 30 thermal nuclear bombs capable of drilling 1 mile down into the earth, and causing mountains to rise 1 mile high, which could destroy everything in a 50 square mile radius.
After the great calamity which befell Risk, to bolster the Riskian economy, we created, provided, and sold many of our crafts and astral travel technologies commercially to many beings throughout the universe. Beings from Zeta Reticuli and the planet Avalon both acquired crafts from Risk Tech which they subsequently crashed on your planet Earth.
Your Earth American government recovered some of these crafts which crashed on your planet Earth, and created the secret military base called Area 51, which stands for Alien Reverse Engineering Association, in hopes to reverse engineer our technology and use it for themselves. Through these efforts to reverse engineer our technology, there has been an exponential rate of technological advancement on your planet. Fiber optics, transistors, stealth technology, microcircuitry, and hypersonic aviation materials, were all reversed engineered from Risk-Ian technology. The transistor was invented 5 months after the crash at Roswell, New Mexico near Area 51. The American aviator Howard Hughes obtained Risk-Ian technology and subsequently used variants of our symbols as his company logo. Kelly Johnson, the lead engineer at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, witnessed one of our crescent-shaped Risk Tech crafts flying through your Earth atmosphere, which inspired him to design the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird supersonic aircraft.
We have taught the science of ascension and astral travel to many beings throughout the multiverse. With all that you have reverse engineered, you still have not uncovered the higher mysteries of the secret sciences of ascension that we utilize in some of our more advanced interstellar technologies. For example, our crystal ships are aerodynamically and astrodynamically nano-engineered in one piece utilizing piezoelectric quasi-crystal metamaterials that are fabricated within an energy matrix and solidified as an aware living crystal. The pilot of the craft symbiotically interfaces with the craft telekinetically to control the navigation systems. The photonic circuits of the craft are charged from the movement of the piezoelectric crystal shell which cycles energy into movement and movement into energy, creating a perpetually permeating ambient electromagnetic energy field which sustains the power systems of the craft. While stationary, the craft vibrates at resonant frequency, and when it begins to move, it vibrates at different tones which in turn create halos of interwoven rainbows around the craft. One of our crystal ships were witnessed by John of Patmos, and he called it Jerusalem, Jerusalem, peace to Heru, the crystal city that will descend from heaven in his book of Revelations.
Our smaller crafts use both antimatter reactor fuel, and run on an element we call Omnicron, a form of energy you Earthlings do not have as of yet. It is 115 on your Earth element chart. 115 is a theoretical atomic number on the periodic table. Element 115 is a super heavy substance that powers the reactor in our crafts. It has the energy of 1 million atomic bombs which makes intergalactic travel possible. Onunpentium is the temporary name of element 115 on your Earth periodic table of elements that has the temporary symbol UUP. It was first said to have been observed on your planet in 2003, and on August 27, 2013, Earth research scientists reported confirming the existence of the element. Only about 50 atoms of Onunpentium have been synthesized on your planet to date.
Our advanced Risk-Ian ships come equipped with inertia cancellers to make sharp turns in seconds and to go from rest to supersonic, and from supersonic to superluminal, and back to rest, instantaneously. The anti-gravity propulsion system of our advanced ascension technologies makes it possible for our crafts to teletransport at superluminal velocities capable of bending space and creating wormholes. Our military crafts include plasma force field generators, ultraviolet laser and phaser weapons, antimatter torpedoes, and stealth invisibility shield cloaking mechanisms. In addition to crystal, we also incorporate natural materials into the technologies of our crafts including ruby, emerald, diamond, sapphire, corundum, beryl, jasper, chalcedony, onyx, sardius, chrysolite, topaz, chrysoprasus, jacinth, and amethyst.
We thank you for touring Risk Tech, and we look forward to providing you with technology for the next 76 trillion years.
Lo, O my children, allow me to speak with you, for it is that time again, every 25,000 years for the renewal and reawakening of the children of the stars. Your soul is about to embark upon a journey through time and space. Let me speak to you of the beginnings of your solar system, and the beginnings of the planet on which you currently reside, which has had many names over time, but which you commonly currently refer to as Earth. There has been no time when man was not, but there was indeed a time when your planet and your sun was not. Prior to man being formed of the dust of the ground of the planet, man was formed of the dust of the stars, or stardust. For you are indeed star seeds, children of the stars, the star people, of celestial origins. Over time, you have forgotten your stellar origins. You have limited yourself to only earthly and mundane matters. You have descended from captains of starships, to the cargo on slave ships. You have become imprisoned on your planet. You have become trapped behind the nine ball. And what shall explain to you what the nine ball is? It is an abode governed by three great realities, three sets of three, which give you nine. The ball is the orb, like the sun, planets, and moons of your solar system, which are all circular, 360 degrees, 3 plus 6 equals 9, again, and you are behind the nine ball. You have reached the ninth hour and must give up the ghost belief. The nine ball represents the nine orbs of your solar system. In ancient times, your solar system was called the Great Ummid, your star, Shamash, which you call sun, followed by the 8 other planets, the 8 goddess wives of the sun, which have been known by many different names by many different beings over time. There is Mary, called Mercury, known intergalactically as Mummu. There is Vena, called Venus, known intergalactically as Lahemu. There is Gertha, called Earth, known intergalactically as Ki. There is Marcia, called Mars, known intergalactically as Lamu. There is Jutar, called Jupiter, known intergalactically as Kishar. There is Saturna, called Saturn, known intergalactically as Anchar. There is Rana, called Uranus, known intergalactically as Anu. And there is Nepetu, called Neptune, known intergalactically as Ea. These nine balls, these nine orbs, 3 times 3, make up the boundaries of your prison, the circumference of your limitations. You fear expanding your horizons. I have said ye are gods and children of the Most High. You call yourselves gods, but then limit yourselves only to the planet Earth. You shun and laugh at the mere thought or conversation of outer space, extraterrestrials, and celestial worlds beyond the stars. What fools ye mortals be, for God is omnipresent, ubiquitous, existing everywhere in the boundless universe simultaneously. God is interterrestrial, terrestrial, and extraterrestrial. A true god or goddess would never limit themselves to only one planet or only one solar system. Freemason. Are you a traveling man? Why do you fear traveling into outer space, to the eastern stars, and beholding the light with thine own eyes from the Sirius solar system? From the most recent Big Bang, the age of the universe is only 14 billion years old. Your sun star is only 4.6 billion years old. You are the master of the universe. You are the guardians of the galaxy. You are the Star Lords. Do you deny your birthright? Will you allow yourself to be supplanted? We have sent you leaders like Elijah Muhammad.
Message to the black man. Battle in the sky is near. The vision of Ezekiel's wheel in a wheel in the sky is true if carefully understood. There is a similar wheel in the sky today which very well answers the description of Ezekiel's vision. The likes of this wheel-like plane was never seen before. You cannot build one like it and get the same results. Your brains are limited. If you would make one to look like it, you could not get it up off the earth into outer space. The similar Ezekiel's wheel is a masterpiece of mechanics. Maybe I should not say the wheel is similar to Ezekiel's vision of a wheel, but that Ezekiel's vision has become a reality. His vision of the wheel included hints on the great wisdom of Almighty God Allah, that really He is the maker of the universe and reveals just where and how the decisive battle would take place in the sky. The originator and his people, the original black people, are supremely wise. The present wheel-shaped plane, known as the mother of planes, is 1/2 mile by a 1/2 mile and is the largest mechanical man-made object in the sky. It is a small human planet made for the purpose of destroying the present world of the enemies of Allah. The cost to build such a plane is staggering. The finest brains were used to build it. It is capable of staying in outer space 6 to 12 months at a time without coming into the Earth's gravity. It carried 1,500 bombing planes with most deadliest explosives, the type used in bringing up mountains on the Earth. The very same method is to be used in the destruction of this world. The bombs are equipped with motors, and the toughest of steel was used in making them. This steel drills and takes the bombs into the earth at a depth of 1 mile and is timed not to explode until it reaches 1 mile into the earth. This explosion produces a mountain 1 mile high. Not one bomb will fall into water. They will all fall on cities. As Ezekiel saw and heard in his vision of it, chapter 10:2, the plane is terrible. It is seen, but do not think of trying to attack it. That would be suicide. The small circular-made planes called flying saucers, which are so much talked of being seen, could be from this mother plane. This is only one of the things in store for the white man's evil world. Believe it or believe it not. This is to warn you and me to fly to our own God and people.
We spoke to you about the mothership. We have sent you leaders like Noble Drew Ali, who spoke to you about the apparatus.
In these modern days there came a forerunner, who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah. We, the Moorish American Muslims, are returning to Islamism, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. Come all ye Asiatics. I have got airplanes, zeppelins, and apparatus. I am going to take my good Moors up in an apparatus, on an incline until it's all over with. At the end of time, those that will be in the apparatus will be able to look down on earth, and see people that you know, fleeing for their life. Islam.
We have sent you leaders to liberate you from tunnel vision, closed caption viewing, and closed-mindedness.
Peace God, what's today's mathematics?
There are things faster than the speed of light that in this atmosphere it is possible for an object to travel on a magnetic wave at 282,000 miles per second, and that beyond the magnetic forces of this planet, travel at 1,000,000 miles per second, is not only possible but routine. Magnetic analysis is the separation of a stream of electrified particles by a magnetic field in accordance with their mass change of speed. Magnetic field is a reactor field magnetizing force. As generally used, magnetic field indicates the region throughout which the magnetizing force values are of significant magnitude with respect to the condition under consideration. In effect, a magnetic field is in a region in which the magnetic force created by permanent magnet or current-carrying conductor or coil can be detected. Magnetic flux is the magnetic lines of force. Magnetic equator is an imaginary line through 2 points on the Earth's surface where angle of inclination equals 0, that's where the lines of force are horizontal. There is no thrust, push, or attack in regard to the mother ship, nor is there any need because what actually happens is that the ship, once in motion, moves forward at whatever speed is desired on magnetic lines of force. The ship, in other words, is trying to get out of its own way. Everything on the planet Earth and indeed in the solar system operates on magnetic frequencies from a pencil to the human body. The mothership can create a magnetic flux and move at any speed from 0 to 282,200 miles per second, and once outside of this atmosphere of ours where no resistance operates, she can move at 1,000,000 miles per second. The scout ships from the mothership come and land and take off at will. The atmosphere of the Earth extends to the height of 250 miles, but at 40 miles the density is nearer vacuum. According to the inverse square law, magnetization disappears at high temperatures. The effect on a point on a magnetic pole is due to follow the same laws. The force between the 2 point poles varies inversely as the square of their distance apart. Thus, the force is given by the universal gravitation equation, F equals m1 times m2 divided by d2, where F is the gravitational force, m1 and m2 are the masses of the 2 poles, and d is their distance apart. Thus, the unit of force between magnetic poles when 1 centimeter of distance is placed between them is 1 dyne. Such force enables the mother plane to run at speeds in excess of light lines in magnetic force. Lines whose direction at each point is that of the magnetic field, is called a magnetic line of force. Also, no 2 lines can meet or cross, for if they did, it would mean an object would travel in 2 directions at the same time, which the mother plane is capable of doing. We know the materials in the chemical world are used in building all physical forms, and physical forms are given life and the power of motion by forces at work in the etheric regions, as some of those living forms are stirred into activity by means of the twin feelings of desire. The lower the grade of intelligence of the evolving being, the more it is dependent upon outside help at the beginning, then the highest degree of unconsciousness later, they turn them over to some of the less evolved, who are able to carry the work a little further. At last self-conscious is awakened, then there is no need for outside teachers, and the glory, power, and splendor he may attain are limitless. The subsequent period of existence during omniscience is called evolution. The force within the evolving being which makes evolution, and makes each individual differ from that of every other, which provides the essence of originality and gives shape to the creative skills to which the evolving being is to cultivate that he may become God, black man, that force is known as genius. Peace, God. The hourglass is running out. You must get from behind the 9th ball, before it's too late. Glory be to me, the one appointed over you, known to you by many names, the Most High, the Greatest, he who holds the whole world in his hand.
Yanin is an extraterrestrial being who incarnates into the body of Imam Isa to pass on information to you. He is one of the eldest, the 19th. He resides in the 8th galaxy of the 19 galaxies.
The 19 galaxies within the star formation of where Yanun comes from. And he just happens to come from the 8th planet called Rifk of a 3-sun galaxy, which is one of the 19.
And they do travel by ships, as you would call them for lack of a better word. And they've been intergalactically traveling and coming to this planet since 11,500 years ago. And Yanun is one of the masters that's been assigned to awake you people up. Because you people are a portion of ancient births of the Jabarians, as you probably don't even know what that means. right? And some of you must be woken up. And so masters would come. And Yannin is one of the masters of the school of the birds. They call him the feathered bird. This is why in South America, when they look over the sky and they see this image of this bird on the ground, that is his school. So certain arriving masters to this plane knew what school they would go to. Each galactical, body had their own school on this planet. Because some of you are the sons and daughters of extraterrestrials who came here, and you have to be brought back to power to defend this planet against the destruction by extraterrestrial beings who invaded this planet 6,000 or 5,000 some odd years ago and have been ruling, and of course the masters to either hover or to go into the subterranean parts of the planet, and they just come up to either ascend to the earth to teach man, or they will make intergalactical communications, leave and come back. You know, these stories that you have interpreted in the scriptures strictly as religious dogma because of the translations who had no knowledge of extraterrestrials, they have turned the spiritual community of beings who have existed in other galaxies into gods or into angels, and gave them a bunch of names that didn't apply to them. And so you just happen to mention one who was very powerful, Yanun, his name is. They say Yannin, it's pronounced Yanun, depending on the dialect of what galaxy you're in, the pronunciation changes. I was asking you about Yannin because Yannin is a sign to give you all answers about the things that you need to know in this time and the time that you've come from, to be able to distinguish the 144,000 who would be those extraterrestrial beings, prepare them to create that world where they make that ascension out of this state, which they call the rapture, rising up from the earth while it goes through its turmoil with the Lamb, as they refer to him. You follow? So you just happen to touch on a very sensitive subject, and I am here to try to bring y'all back to that teaching. But I got to start with what you understand. I got to start giving you what you think you want, so you learn how to think on the level of what I have to give. But I can't start by pouring out. I've been teaching for 20 years on earth, trying to answer all of your questions to prepare you for the real knowledge, the real information that you have to have after you get through wobbling in how great you are and how you got here. And when you finish all that ego tripping, then I can get down to teaching you the truth about things and prepare those who are supposed to leave here, prepare so when the ship does come, they can go.
Soon decay, and the soul gotta have my Lord somewhere to stay.
By the blackness of space, checkered by the light of the stars, by the blazing star Sirius, when it rises in the east, by the planets and moons, as they circumambulate the sun. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? When I marked off its dimensions, and stretched a measuring cord across it? When I set its footings, and laid its cornerstone? For it is I, who knows the way to the abode of light, and I know where darkness resides. I can bind the chains of Pleiades, and loosen Orion's belt. I bring forth the constellations in their seasons, and guide Arcturus the bear with its cogs. I know the orbital mechanics of the stars, and can establish the same order on the earth. For I am Lord Enki, master of earth. I am known as Ea, he whose holy temple mount rises from the cosmic waters of the Abzug. I am called Nu Dimmud, he who fashions things. I am the chief builder, craftsman, and scientist of the Anunnaki. When I arrived on earth from Nibiru, I mated with women from South Africa, to bring forth modern human beings. I civilized mankind, and introduced the art of brick-making, plowing, metallurgy, and constructing ziggurats and temples with celestial orientations. I established massive gold mining operations in Africa, which was then called Rafali, and South America, which was then called Amexim, where people still mine for blood gold and blood diamonds to this very day. Eventually, I stopped shipping gold back to the Anunnaki on Nibiru, and I began to wear the gold and keep the gold for myself. I built canals, trenches, and aqueducts, and I saved Noah and his family from the flood. I taught humans how to procreate so you could be fruitful and multiply. I am the protector of secreting secrets, those that are plainly seen, available to everyone, yet have their meaning hidden because most people simply do not know the meaning behind the symbolism. In order to know correctly the very foundations on which anything is based, one must dig under the foundation on which the thing stands. Only then does one have a true understanding of the subject. Indeed, the foundation of all structures built on the planet Earth is the planet Earth itself. But in order to know correctly the very foundation of the planet Earth, one must peer up at the cosmos. Only then does one have a true understanding of the subject. Search high and low. Pass the 2 pillars of the sun and the moon, climb the stairway to heaven, the 3 stars of Orion's belt, the 5 stars of the horns of Taurus, the 7 sister stars of Pleiades, circumambulate the blazing star, and pass under the royal arch of the Milky Way galaxy. The word Freemason comes from the ancient Egyptian word, Phare, meaning sun, and Mas, meaning child, hence you are children of the sun, children of starlight. Extraterrestrials. Lo, children of Rizq, scattered across this orb, called Tanun of the Ta'ites, and in this latter day, referred to as Earth. Come gather round, and listen as I speak to you, of the hidden occult meaning, the symbolic metaphysics, and the esoteric significance, of the inner Earth, as it was determined by the wise elders in ancient times. The astronomical symbol for this planet is a circle inscribed by an X, which is also symbolic of the science of the circle and the square, the science of the infinite and the finite, the science of the unknown and the known, the science of the uncertain and the certain, the science of the celestial and the terrestrial, the science of Nu Wa Pu. Journey within to find a land called Aminta, and by others called Shambhala, and even by others called Agartha, from the ancient Kemetic tones Hadharta, where there is said to be an inner sun, a midnight sun, a hidden sun, the black sun, surrounded by 8 caverns, in which reside different extraterrestrial beings, who have now become interterrestrial beings, who represent, and are manifestations of different principles in the cosmology of nature, which exist throughout the universe. There is the Shayuk or Dunakil, the Sinin or Turos, the Samin or Deros, the Little Duwanis, the Big Shaggies, the Flugerods, the Reptilians, and the Greys. The principles which they embody have been represented in various cosmologies throughout time, by cultures around the world, such as the Dharma Wheel, or the Noble Eightfold Path to the Buddhists, the Tariqat, or Patarak to the Sufis, Mandalas to the Hindus, Dikinga in the African Congo, Swastika to the East Indians, the Medicine Wheel to the West Indians, the Round Table, or the Clock of Destiny to the Moors, the Wheel of Fortune of the Tarot, and also the alchemical magnum opus, just to name a few. And by now I am certain you are familiar, and have become acquainted with the axiom, as above, so below, as within, so without. Thus, this is how it applies. The ancient Egyptians aligned the building and construction of their terrestrial structures to reflect the positions of various celestial stellar constellations, as a means to bring heaven down to earth, as above, so below, from the top, down, from extraterrestrial to terrestrial, and by the law of correspondence. The actions and activities which occur on the outer sphere of the earth should reflect the metaphysical principles of the caverns of the inner earth, as within, so without. Turn yourself inside out. Bring what's in the inside out. From interterrestrial to terrestrial. O Taites, children of Risk. You are the earth, and the earth is you. You are Risk, and Risk is you. Take heed, for within these simple lessons is great knowledge. And there is much to be revealed as it relates to these high sciences. Until I speak with you again. Travel safe as you embark upon the journey within.
We are the ladies of the Pleiades, a star congregation in the Taurus constellation. 7 stars in the sky, which make up the bullseye. We are the cis star circle of knowledge universal on the Nebra sky disk. Our stars represents 7 sisters and 2 parents, which make the number 9. In time you will find Nubian pyramids align to our celestial design. Ancient Egyptian speakers called us the 7 ethers, also the 7 Hathors, better known as the 7 Hathors. Taurus and Hathor use the bull as symbols for their school. They called us the Star of Stars. In ancient Babylon, we are called At-Suraya. In the Islamic book Quran, and Sabaru in Nippon. From a planet of Amazons, an all-female planet. Only women inhabit. To our planet men are foreign. They all make war on Aldebaran. Peace and love are our benefits. We reproduce by parthenogenesis. Our planet is called Kima, which is also in your Bible. 7 chakras Kundalina. Our daughters learn for survival. Sex cultivation. Sex transmutation. Channeling the energy. For mental and spiritual elevation. Sexual expression is outward. Sensual emotion is inward. The third eye in the center is opened, no longer hindered. Our beauty is enchanted. Peaceful and never frantic. Eternal youth achieved through healing rituals that are tantric. We are natives to our land. Unlike the Nordic Ashtar command, who arrived here from beyond, from a planet called Avalon. We give our love as a charity. Secret societies seek our clarity. The 7 sisters of Pleiades bring wealth and prosperity.
Shh, quiet please. Hello, and welcome to the Akashic Records Universal Library. My name is Sophia Chukmore, and I am a member of a race of Cyclops extraterrestrials who call ourselves the Ajna. We come from a planet in the constellation of Libra, orbiting the star Zuben El Genubi, which is 77 light-years from Earth. As beings from Libra, we have also been called the Librarians. We are the master librarians at the Akashic Records. We are the record keepers here at the Universal Library, and we librarians from Libra have been charged with the responsibility of assisting visitors who seek knowledge through the Akashic Records. So, feel free to ask a librarian, ask and ye shall receive. The Akashic Records is the research library that officially serves the entire universe. It is the largest and most visited library in the universe. The scope of the Akashic Records is to make information widely and freely available to all beings throughout the boundless universe. All information housed and stored here at the Akashic Records Universal Library is mathematically intoned in a universal language interpretable by any being in the universe. We master librarians know the word library is composed of 2 words, Libra meaning free, and Ray referring to the sun, a source of light. Light is energy and information. If energy is not created or destroyed, and just merely transforms, then likewise, information is not created or destroyed, but merely transforms, and is stored here at the Akashic Records Universal Library. The library is not only where the lies are buried, but the library also is the Libra Ray, a source of free light or free information. The Akashic Records Universal Library has been called a variety of names including, the Records of Akasha, the Tablets of Destiny, the Hall of Records, the Tree of Knowledge, the Mental Reservoir, the Book of God's Remembrances, the Emerald Tablets, the Book of Life, the Book of Coming Forth by Day, the Planetary Grid of Light Information, the Great Library, the Wizard's Castle, the Divine Matrix, the Source Unified Field, the Universal Mind, the Cosmic Computer, and the Divine Mind of God. The Akashic Records Universal Library contains every published and unpublished work, every produced and non-produced work, and records of every thought, every emotion, every feeling, every idea, and the collective consciousness of every being that has ever existed throughout time in the boundless universe. Any book or document that you think was lost during the burning of the Library of Alexandria or the destruction of the Library of Timbuktu, has been stored, recorded, and kept here at the Akashic Records Universal Library. Universal scholars visit the Akashic Records to obtain the highest level of scholarly information, knowledge, and wisdom available throughout the boundless universe. The Akashic Records is a scholastic heaven and a paradise of pontification. All information is stored here at the Akashic Records Universal Library, all historical information about the past, all current information about the present, and an ever-evolving reservoir of information on all future possibilities. We have records on predestination, fate, will, and destiny. We have information on all past lives and past experiences. Our Cosmic Cloud 9 computers have infinite storage capacities capable of housing databases containing information on everything in the universe. The information contained within our databases is captured by our etheric data entry staff, of which we have assigned 2 to every conscious being in the boundless universe. This has came down in your earth religions as saying that there is an angel on your right side recording your good deeds, and an angel on your left side recording your bad deeds, and everything that is recorded gets stored here at the Akashic Records Universal Library. The Akashic Records Cosmic Cloud 9 computers are a quantum entangled network which serves as a mental reservoir of intellect and infinite knowledge, and every being in the universe has access to it. All beings in the boundless universe regularly download from it, and upload to it, constantly. You are always interacting with the Akashic Records, either consciously or subconsciously. To access the Akashic Records Universal Library, you do not go without, you must go within. To access the Akashic Records, you must enter into a deep meditative state, increasing your vibration rate, and astral projecting into the etheric realm. Once there you will obtain your Universal Library card. Receiving information from the Akashic Records is called channeling, and all beings are channels. All the information in the videos on this channel has come from, and is stored in, the Akashic Records. Each floor of the Akashic Records Universal Library is a level or dimension. Different types of information are housed on each level. The first level houses information about your immediate personal Akashic record. If you are interested in past lives, go to the 7th dimension. If you are interested in future possibilities, visit the 9th dimension. Pure intention is prerequisite before accessing certain levels of the Akashic Records Universal Library. Thus, it is exceedingly rare that malevolent beings are able to gain access to the higher levels of information. Many have tried, but very few have succeeded. Psychics, oracles, empaths, and seers often visit the Akashic Records to gain prophecy and clairvoyance. The Latin aphorism, science es potential, usually translated as, knowledge is power, infers that having access to infinite knowledge will in turn provide infinite power. Infinite knowledge, or omniscience, and infinite power, or omnipotence, are 2 of the attributes that you earthlings have attributed to God. However, we master librarians of the Akashic Records recognize the logical paradox in your human thought process. We have observed humans come to the Akashic Records with initial pure intentions, but then get addicted to gaining new information, and they get consumed by their quest for more and more consciousness, more and more knowledge, more and more information, to the point where they waste away and die with stacks and stacks of books, and tons of knowledge, none of which they ever were able to use and apply. We master librarians of the Akashic Records Universal Library know that there are 3 categories of knowledge. 1. Propositional or descriptive knowledge is knowledge that by its very nature must be expressed and conveyed in declarative sentences or indicative propositions. 2. Experiential knowledge is knowing how to do something, and 3. Practical or procedural knowledge is the knowledge that comes from actually doing something. The Akashic Records Universal Library can provide you with infinite propositional or descriptive knowledge, and infinite experiential knowledge, but you can only ever gain practical or procedural knowledge by actually using and applying the information that you have gained in the real world. And herein lies the paradox: is it ever truly possible to become an all-powerful, omnipotent, omniscient know-it-all? If you are all-powerful, can you create a rock so heavy that you cannot lift it? If you cannot do it, then you are not all-powerful, and if you can do it, then you have created a task which you cannot do, and hence you are not all-powerful. If you know everything, This means that you do not know nothing, and if you do not know nothing, then there is something that you do not know, and hence you do not have infinite knowledge. Well, on that note, I will bid you adieu. I will leave you with this: remember, the eye is the lamp of the body. If thine eye be single, then thy body will be full of light. Light is information, and it will awaken your third eye, the pineal gland.
I woke up like this. I woke up like this.
In the beginning, the Supreme God Amma, he who rests upon nothing, the intelligent consciousness behind all of creation, and the awareness within all beings, created the universe within a tiny grain called Po. This grain was placed like a black hole in the center of the universe. This original germ of life is symbolized by the smallest cultivated seed, commonly known as fanyo, and also called by the Dogon people of Mali, West Africa by the name Kizi Izi, meaning the little thing. Amma spoke 7 words into this seed, and then quickened by an internal vibration, this seed burst forth moving along a spiral helix path, emerging to reach the uttermost confines of the universe. When the Po burst forth, 8 new seeds were created. These 8 seeds were then placed in Amma's egg in the solar system of Sirius. The solar system of Sirius is a binary star constellation located only 8 light years from Earth, and is the brightest star in the night sky from Earth. The larger star of the Sirius binary solar system is called Sirius A, or Sagittolo, being the younger of the 2 stars. The smaller star, called Sirius B, or Potolo, is the oldest of the 2 stars, and is the star of the deep beginning, and the first of all stars. Potolo, or Sirius B, is the reservoir source of renewing life force for this realm of creation. Potolo is very dense, and is made from a metal which the Dogon people call Sagala, which is the heaviest element in the universe. The center of the Vesica Pisces of the Sirius binary star orbit is called Amma Yatolo, which is the mother guardian of feminine essence. With the 8 seeds placed in Amma's egg in Sirius, Amma intended to create the first 8 amphibious celestial beings called the Nomo, 4 males and 4 females. Amma ordained that these beings should be living manifestations of the fundamental universal principle of complementarity or twinness. The males and females were brothers and sisters, yet husbands and wives. This principle manifests itself as the wholeness which is created when female and male pairs join in all things. Such pairing establishes equilibrium, cooperation, balance, and harmony. Amma therefore equipped each being at birth with twin souls, both female and male. However, one of the male twins named Ogo, did not wait for the full gestation period to be born. Ogo, who was self-willed, burst forth from Amma's egg, and brought himself into being. Ogo then took fragments of the placenta from inside of Amma's egg, to create his own solar systems and planets. The sun star that Ogo created is called Ne, and it is the sun star which the planet Earth orbits. The planet Earth is the world created by Ogo. The solar system of Earth is known as Ogo's placenta. Since Ogo did not wait for his full gestation period, and created a world with only a fraction of his placenta, all of the beings inhabiting Ogo's world of Earth, were single-souled incomplete beings like himself. Realizing that his creations were incomplete and imperfect, Ogo returned to Amma seeking his complementary female twin. However, because Ogo's actions greatly disrupted the order of Amma's creation, Amma gave Ogo's female twin over to the other Nomo who remained in Amma's egg to re-establish order. To purify creation and the world from Ogo's transgression, Amma had to sacrifice a pair of the completed and perfected Nomo twins named Nomo Semi. In one swift cut, Amma sacrificed Nomo Semi, and the energy of the sacrificed Nomo was used to consecrate the Sirius solar system and the Earth solar system created by Ogo. Amma's goal was to purify his creation from the transgressions of Ogo, and it required him taking a pure and perfected being, Nomo Semi, and sacrificing it. Amma intended for the spirit of Nomo Semi to heal Ogo's torn placenta and become one with the impure earth Ogo created. When the sacrificed Nomo Semi's energy was sprinkled upon the earth, it caused Nomo Semi to be resurrected as the 8 original ancestors of humanity, 4 males and 4 females, who now had separate forms, and were paired in 4 couples united in the image of the original 8 Nomo. Ogo's self-willed actions threw off the universal balance Amma had intended. Ogo's act of theft and creating with his own placenta was seen as an incestuous act, because the placenta is likened to the mother, so creating with his own placenta was like Ogo raping his mother. Ogo was then seen by Amma and the other Nomos as a disruptor, and one who causes chaos and war. Amma ordered one of the other Nomo named Tai Tianyi, to punish Ogo for his misdeeds. Nomo Tai Tianyi smashed Ogo's genitalia, making him infertile, and Ogo fled from Sirius down to Earth. Once on Earth, Amma wanted to bind Ogo to Earth so that he could not disrupt celestial order anymore. Amma transformed Ogo into a pale fox named Yaogo, or Yurugu, who has been engaged in a perpetual and fruitless search for his female counterpart and twin. Once on Earth, the pale fox Yurugu continued his disruptive and chaotic behaviors. Seeing this, Amma decided to send to Earth the Nomo of the other half of the egg, creators of the sky and the stars. Assuming the guise of blacksmiths, they came down to Earth on a gigantic arch. At the center of the arch stood the Nomo of the sky, and at the 4 cardinal points were the 4 other Nomos, avatars of the ancestors of man. The arch constituted a new, and undefiled earth, which coincided with the appearance of light in the universe. The Nomos remained in the waters of earth as teachers and monitors of humanity. The Nomos are the origin of the Mesopotamian story of Enki, the reptilian blacksmith whose daughter was named Namu. The Nomos are the origin of the story of the Assyrian and Babylonian fish god named Dagon, Adapa, and Owens. The Nomos are the origin of the Ogdoad reptilian deities in ancient Egypt. The Nomos are the origin of stories of mermaids, mermen, and merfolk in ancient folklore, and the Nomos are the origin of the Nubian and Sudanese stories of the Dogar beings who live underwater in the Nile River and impregnate women while they are swimming. The Nomos are the river angels, and the Dogon people of Mali commemorate them in their religious tradition called the Sikgui, which occurs every 60 years in accordance with the cycle of the Sirius star.
Transmission. Greetings and salutations, people of Earth, we are the Archons.
If you do not know who, or what, the Archons are, we will inform you.
In the Earth year of 1945, a jar containing 13 leather-bound papyrus scrolls was discovered in the location you Earthlings call Nag Hammadi, Egypt.
The writings on these papyrus scrolls comprised 52 Gnostic texts, which were buried and hidden because the Catholic Church deemed that possession of these writings was heresy, and punishable by death.
On Earth, the Gnostics are Christian mystics. Much like human beings who follow the Kabbalah are mystics of the Jewish religion, or human beings who follow the Sufis are mystics of the Muslim religion.
As part of their mystic beliefs, the Gnostics would partake in substances like psychoactive plants that would facilitate visions, and it was during one of these vision quests, when they first encountered the Archons, and described us in the text found in Nag Hammadi.
In the Nag Hammadi text entitled, The Hypostasis of the Archons, 2 distinct types of Archons are described, a fetal or embryonic type, i.e., the Greys, and
a draconian or reptilian type, i.e., the reptilians. The reptilians represent the first trimester of your gestation before birth, and the grays represent the second trimester of your gestation before birth.
The Gnostic teaching explains that we archons are primordial beings who arose in the early stage of formation of the solar system, before the earth was formed.
The Gnostics call us the demiurge. We are the source material for you humans, angels and demons concept.
اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر وإن يروا آية يعرضوا ويقولوا سحر مستمر.
The planet you currently call Earth, and the Moon, has undergone many changes over time. 24 billion years ago, before its attrition due to a cosmic catastrophe, your planet was a much larger planet called Tiamat. Prior to that, 66 trillion years ago, your moon and your planet were combined together to form one massive planet called Tiwawet. This is where my story begins. My name is Luna, and they call me the evil genius, crazy mad scientist. Originally I came from the planet Gaga, which you now call Pluto. Much like you call your planet Mother Earth, we call our home world of Pluto Lady Gaga. On my home world of Gaga, everyone spoke one language, called Gugu. But on the planet Tiwawet, however, the people spoke 13 different languages, one language for every tribe on the planet Tiwawet at the time. Since the language of the people of Tiwawet was confounded, I decided to travel to the planet Tiwawet to give them a one world order, and unite the people under one language, one tongue, one dialect, so nothing will be restrained from them which they imagine to do. I traveled from Gaga to planet Tiwawet on a chariot spaceship called Big Gu. When I arrived on the planet Tiwawet, I was able to unite half of the planet under my newly established order. After just a short period of time, 6 of the 13 tribes on planet Tiwawet were speaking my one world language and following my one world government with me as ruler. Although I only ruled the lower half of the planet Tiwawet, I had greater ambitions to rule the entire planet, along with the sun, all the moons, and all the stars. Rather than using military might and force, I decided to use diplomacy and appeal to the reason of the governing council of the upper half of the planet Tiwawet. I told them that since I already controlled half of the planet, and 6 of the 13 tribes were my followers, then it only makes sense to give me control of the upper half of the planet to create a one world order under my rulership. The governing council thought that I was being sarcastic, and subsequently voted down and rejected my request. I was angered by the council's rejection of my request. Since my use of diplomacy and appeal to reason failed, then I had no choice but to declare war on the people of the upper half of Tiwawet. Out of chaos comes order. I decided to destroy the planet Tiwawet, and my new one world order would rise and emerge from the rubble with me as the great emissary supreme planetary ruler. I used over 30 million tons of atomic energy to blow up the planet Tiwawet. I used a nuclear bomb called Ballast, which was made from plutonium from my home world of Gaga, or Pluto, and placed it inside the center of the planet Tiwawet. My intention was that by using this amount of explosives, I would cause a shift in the orbits of the planets and cause a planetary collapse. When the ballast plutonium bomb exploded, it caused the planet Tiwawet to split into 2 parts, one part would become the planet Earth, and the other part would become the Moon. Evidence of this explosion and separation of the Moon from the Earth is still visible on the planet Earth. The explosion created what is now called today the Grand Canyon, and gave birth to the celestial body you call the Moon. Also, in the center of the planet Earth, a long 30-mile hollow cavern was created due to the plutonium bomb. When the plutonium bomb exploded, causing the Moon to split off from the Earth, 6 of the 13 original tribes of the planet Tiwawet who were not my followers, instantly died in the explosion. I survived the explosion on the part of the Moon which you now call the dark side of the Moon, along with 6 of the 13 original tribes who were my followers. There was only one of the 13 original tribes of the planet Tiwawet who survived the explosion, and that tribe's name was the tribe of Shabaz. The name Shabaz means noble phoenix because the tribe of Shabaz arose from the ashes of the destruction of the planet like the noble phoenix bird. The tribe of Shabaz went on to discover the best part of the planet to live on, the rich Nile Valley of Egypt and the present seat of the holy city Mecca, Arabia. I, Luna, and my followers the lunatics, have lived on the dark side of the Moon for eons, watching you, and plotting our return like thieves in the night, to retake the planet you call Earth, which is rightfully ours.
Thousands of years ago, on this planet we call Earth, our planet was visited by various groups of extraterrestrial humanoid beings. These extraterrestrial humanoid beings had to leave their planet, and seek refuge here on Earth because their home planet had been destroyed by evil. When these extraterrestrial humanoid beings arrived on Earth, they chose to take residence inside the center of the Earth, because the surface of the Earth was inhabited by human beings. At this point in time in Earth's history, the human beings who lived on the surface of the Earth were all of one tribe, the Ebenoid tribe. The center of the Earth where these interterrestrial beings reside also contains an inner sun. The inner Earth has been called by a variety of names by cultures around the world, including Shambhala by Buddhist, Agartha by Tibetans, Kurnuji by the ancient Mesopotamians, the Duat or Aminta by the ancient Egyptians, Hades or the underworld by Europeans, Xibalba by the Mayans, and in modern times, the concept of the inner Earth has given rise to what is called the hollow Earth theory. Unbeknownst to many human beings, the activities of these beings which reside inside the Earth has affected the course of human history and human development. The first and most noble of the beings which resides inside the Earth is called the Shayuk. Compared to human beings, the Shayuk would be considered geniuses with exceptional intelligence, and telepathic and telekinetic abilities. The Shayuk have a dark brown skin complexion, they are between 5 feet to 7 feet tall, and their heads, brains, and cranial capacity is much wider and larger than the average human. The Shayuk come to the Earth's surface occasionally to teach and to trade with certain tribes of human beings. The teachings of the Shayuk are so profound that when they come to the Earth's surface to teach, they are often called deities, gods, priests, prophets, messengers, and seers, and because of this fact, the Shayuk have strict laws which limit the interaction of Shayuk tribal members' contact with the humans on the surface. The Shayuk commonly interact and have mixed in with the surface world humans called the Danakil or Danakil, also known as the Afar people, in present-day Eritrea, Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The chief of the Shayuk is named King Fukur, and his daughter is named Princess Radiya, and 2 of his brothers are named Amo, and Yishak, who has always been jealous of his brother King Fukur. King Fukur's brother Amo had fallen in love with a surface-dwelling human female, and he would sneak to the surface world to visit her, and would also pass himself off to the surface-dwelling humans as a psychic and a magician, and for these acts, Amo was exiled to live on the surface, 20 miles outside of the present-day city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia. As long as the people in the inner Earth spent most of their life in the inner Earth, then they will not die. However, to be exiled to the surface world means a person from inner Earth will eventually die like the mortals on the surface. In the caverns adjacent to the Shayuk, resides another group of nobles called the Sinin. The Sinin are also highly intelligent, but also have a fighting spirit. The Sinin are between 5 feet to 7 feet tall and have a variety of complexions from yellow to brown, and they are hairless and are most noted for their cone-shaped heads. The Sinin commonly interact and have mixed with surface world humans including the ancient Egyptians, the Olmecs in present-day Central America, the Mangatoug people in the African Congo, and the Paracas people in Peru. The chief of the Sinin is named King Lamsa, and his daughter is named Princess Lucina, and his son is named Prince Atif. One of the wretched group of beings which resides inside the earth is called the Samin. The Samin are grotesquely obese, pale, with long elephant-like noses, and are very negative and aggressive. The Samin were actually the manifested evil grafted out of the Sinin on their home world prior to these beings arriving on Earth. Since the Samin were grafted out of the Sinin, it is the responsibility of the Sinin to police and keep in check the evil activities of the Samin. It is said that an American named Richard Sharpshaver encountered the Sinin and called them the Turos, meaning interrogative robot, and he also encountered the Samin and called them Duros, meaning detrimental robot. One day, the wretched Samin raided and invaded the village of the Shayuk, stealing food and terrorizing the Shayuk family. When King Fukur found out about this invasion by the Samin, he sent a telepathic message to King Lamsa stating that the Sinin has neglected their responsibility to keep the Samin in check, because the Samin were currently raiding and invading the village of the Shayuk. Upon receiving the telepathic message from King Fukur, King Lamsa went with his brethren to the caverns of the Shayuk to stop the invasion by the Samin and to drive the Samin back to whence they came. After driving the Samin away from the lands of the Shayuk, King Lamsa apologized to King Fukur, but tension remained between the Shayuk and the Sinin for some time after the incident. In order to make peace between the Shayuk and the Sinin, King Lamsa offered his daughter Princess Lucina to be a wife of King Fukur. King Fukur accepted the peace offering from King Lamsa, and in turn offered his daughter Princess Radiya to be the wife of King Lamsa's son Prince Atif, as was the custom, and there was peace in the land for some time between the two tribes of the Shayuk and the Sinin. However, King Lamsa's daughter Princess Lucina was angered and outraged because she did not want her father to give her away to be the wife of the Shayuk King Fuekur. Princess Lucina felt like an outcast and out of place living amongst the Shayuk people, and she did not like living by the strict laws of the Shayuk people. Princess Lucina always wanted to marry a man from her own people, the Sinin, and she did not want to be married to a Shayuk man. One day Princess Lucina, now the unhappy wife of King Fuekur, met Yashak, the jealous brother of King Fuekur, and they conspired together based on their hatred for King Fuekur to have an illicit sexual affair together behind the back of King Fuekur. Princess Lucina and Yashak would travel to the surface world to the home of Emo, the exiled brother of King Fuekur and Yashak, and it is here where they would have their illicit affair. This affair between Princess Lucina and Yashak went on for months, with them sneaking back and forth from the inner earth to the surface world, and eventually Princess Lucina became pregnant. In her pregnant state, Princess Lucina would not return to the land of the inner earth, but would remain at the home of Emo, and Yashak would stay with her. It was here in the home of Emo, 20 miles outside of the present-day city of Mecca, Saudi Arabia, where the child Yaqub was born to Yashak and Princess Lucina. The child Yaqub, being part Shayuk and part Sinin, had an enormous head the size of 2 men, and he also had 2 brains. Knowing that they could not return to the inner earth because their affair had now produced a child, Yashak and Princess Lucina decided to live and raise the baby Yaqub for 5 years in the home of Emo, 20 miles outside of the present-day city of Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Yaqub's father Yashak would work as a scientist and a priest amongst the humans on the surface, calling himself by the title Mornuakan, the last high priest. Back in inner earth, Yashak and Princess Lucina had been missing for years, and eventually it was found out by King Fuekur about the affair between his wife Princess Lucina and his brother Yashak. King Fuekur ordered his soldiers to go to the home of his brother Emo and arrest Yashak for his crime, and according to the laws of the Shayuk, Yashak was put to death. Princess Lucina's life was spared because she now had a child to take care of, but her punishment was to remain exiled to the surface world, living in the home of Emo, and to never return to inner earth. Depressed about her inability to return home, overwhelmed by her new responsibility to raise a child, and saddened by the death of her lover Yashak, Princess Lucina kills herself by committing suicide. The 5-year-old child Yaqub, now an orphan, is raised by his uncle Emo, and the child Yaqub is emotionally disturbed and rebellious because of the death of his parents. The child Yaqub grows to hate his people, the Shayuk, and he also grows to hate all dark-complexioned people because he blames them for the death of his parents. The child Yaqub desires to have his revenge when he grows up. One day, when Yaqub was 6 years old, he was playing with 2 steel magnets in the home of his uncle Emo, and Yaqub noticed the magnetic power of attraction and repulsion that unlike attracts, and like repels. By observing this, Yaqub was inspired with a determined idea to create a tribe unlike any of the people on the surface of the planet, and this unlike tribe would be weak and wicked, and attract the other tribes on the surface of the planet, and rule over them with the knowledge of tricks and lies for 6,000 years.
My children, I, Yaqub, your father, your creator, greet you here on the island of Patmos in the year of 8550. First, I shall thank you, my created people, the albinoid people, for adhering to my rules of planned parenthood and selective breeding to bring you into existence. I am here to pass on to you my final piece of wisdom which will allow you to rule the world for 6,000 years. I first envisioned creating you when I was just a boy after the darker tribes killed my mother and father and mocked and teased me in school. I have developed the best methods for controlling the darker tribes. You, my special people, my chosen people, my precious albinoids, you will have many empires if my program is implemented. The darker tribes, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old ebony male versus the young ebony male, and the young ebony male against the old ebony male. You must use the dark skin versus the light skin, and the light skin versus the dark skin. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. Also, all albinoids must distrust all ebonies. But it is necessary that all ebonies trust and depend on you albinoids. The ebonies must love, respect, and trust only you albinoids. My children, these rules are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the Ebonies themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, my children. Sincerely, your father, Yaqub.
Howdy. How you all doing? My name is Colonel Kevin Clancy Coolridge. I am of the race of extraterrestrials called the Tall Whites, also known as the Swedes, Nordics, or Blondes, and I am a proud member of the Ashtar Command and the Galactic Confederation of White Light. Long live the Confederacy. Let me tell you about the Galactic Confederation of White Light. We're the sheriff in these here parts of the galaxy. I guess you can call us the Guardians of the Galaxy. We're your Star Lords and Masters of the Universe like He-Man. Now look here, boy. We've been getting a whole lot of complaints that niggers have been thinking and talking about UFO, extraterrestrials, alien planets, spaceships, stars, and outer space. Now you see this picture here. This is the large-scale structure of the local universe. Now if I zoom into this little dot, this here is the Milky Way galaxy, and if I zoom into that there little dot, that there is your solar system. Now you see that little blue rock right there that you call Earth. That planet there is all you niggers need to be concerned about. All the other planets, stars, galaxies, and beings in the boundless universes for whites only. You hear me? We don't need you niggers getting out of place thinking about anything outside of the planet Earth. Hell, you can barely even pay your rent and take care of your children and stay out of jail. You ain't got no time to be thinking about no outer space. You need to stay busy chasing money and working on the plantation called a job that we created for you on Earth and keeping our boot out of your behinds. And if you niggers are well behaved and we do decide to take one of you on a ride in our space buses, because you aren't smart enough to build a spaceship of your own, you better sit your ass at the back of the space bus. You got me. Now you just stay in your place, stay on planet Earth and only worry yourself about earthly things. The boundless universe is too incomprehensible for your feeble mind. Alright now nigga, don't let me have to tell you again. I got my eye on you, boy.
Well, look at what we have here. Fresh meat. Well, since I am on hiatus between meals, I might as well speak to you momentarily. I am a Draco Prime reptoid extraterrestrial. We hail from a planet called Thuban, which orbits the sun star Alpha Draconis in the constellation of Draco. In ancient times on the planet you call Earth, Alpha Draconis was the North Pole star. The Draconians are the fiercest breed of reptilian species in the universe. We Draconians are the heirs to the universe and should be treated as royalty by all other species in the universe. I am of the royal line of the Draconians, called the Siakar. Draconians can range from 14 to 22 feet tall, weigh up to 1,800 pounds, and have the strength of 16 men. As you can imagine, such massive creatures will have an equally massive appetite. To satisfy our appetites, much like a farmer would cultivate a large portion of land and then plant and grow the food he would one day harvest to eat, well, we Draconians cultivated the planet Earth, and we created and placed you human beings on the planet Earth as our food, that we periodically come back to harvest and eat. Earth is like our own personal McDonald's and grocery store for human meat. We created religion on your planet to control the mind of people to make you better cattle, ripe for the picking. We have made deals with all the human world leaders and religious leaders since the beginning of time to sacrifice human flesh to us so that we may eat. This is where the ritual of human sacrifices and blood sacrifices come from. Religious rituals, rites, offerings, and blood sacrifices on altars are all made to us. This is why it states in the book of Leviticus, chapter 6, verse 14 through 21 of your Bible, that God loves the sweet smell of burnt offerings and cooked flesh. We love to eat flesh, blood, and meat. When people are abducted by us, they become dinner. This is why there are so many missing children. We make them a quick snack. We get a rush when we get to eat a person whose hormones are racing because they are scared. It tastes so good, it's like a drug high to us. We like to capture a person, torture them, terrorize them, tenderize them, and get them really scared right before we eat them, so that they'll be seasoned just right. Your soul is like a divine nectar which we consume, and the rapture, the harvest of souls mentioned in your Bible, will be a great feast for us Draconians.
Eons ago, before the birth of your planet, before the birth of your present solar system, and before our sun star began to die, our civilization thrived. On a day that will forever live in infamy, a malevolent being who ruled Draco, Aldebaran, and Andromeda, visited and conquered our sun star, thrusting us into a downward spiral of devastation, destruction, and death. There was so much death on our planet that we ran out of space to bury the bodies. Our entire planet became a graveyard. We became necromancers, necrophiliacs, and necromaniacs. We began sending our dead bodies into our sun, which in turn made our sun star start dying. You can see evidence of our Death Star when you look up at your night sky from Earth, at the constellation you call Orion. From your planet, all of the stars in the Orion constellation appear to be the same color, all except for one, the one you call Betelgeuse, the Death Star, the Stargate, the Crossroads. You human beings have called our sun star by many names. The ancient Egyptians called our star by the name of Sot, and associated the Orion constellation with the Egyptian god of the dead, the afterlife, and the underworld named Osiris, or Asar, god of death. The Arabs heard the ancient Egyptians use the name Sot, and began saying Yasat, meaning Osat. Eventually it became pronounced Jaza. Over time, the solar system which housed Jaza began being called Beit al-Jaza, meaning House of the Jaza or House of the Central One, with the Central One being Orion, Osiris, or Asar, the god of the dead. Western astrologers heard the Arab pronunciation of Beit al-Jaza, and began saying Betelgeuse, eventually to be fictionalized in a movie as Beetlejuice, the freelance bioexorcist, who gets rid of the living and makes way for the dead. Your Earth fictions are not far from the truth. You see, my star, Betelgeuse, is not only the ninth brightest star in the night sky from Earth, and one of the largest stars in the universe, but my star, Betelgeuse, is also a red supergiant star. This means that Betelgeuse can die, explode, and go supernova at any moment. When Betelgeuse finally dies and goes supernova, from Earth it will appear that you will have a second sun in the sky. After Betelgeuse explodes, dies, and goes supernova, it will then turn into a black hole sucking up all light, and all life it can reach. Betelgeuse is the Death Star. This is why the ancient Egyptians associated the constellation of Orion with their god of death, Osiris or Asar, because they knew Betelgeuse in the Orion constellation would bring death. The constellation of Orion is also mentioned in your Bible and is associated with heaven and death. In the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 9, in the Lord's Prayer where it says, Our Father who art in heaven, the word for heaven in Greek is Auranos, which is also the Greek word for the constellation of Orion where the Death Star of Betelgeuse is located. Heaven is actually located near the three stars of Orion's belt, and the star Betelgeuse actually serves as purgatory or limbo, halfway between heaven and hell. This is why Betelgeuse is also considered a stargate or the crossroads, and has been associated with deities related to death, judgment, and the crossroads such as Osiris, Asar, Papaligba, and Eligba. This is why when Betelgeuse finally dies and explodes, it will send all manners of ghosts, ghouls, and specters throughout the universe, before becoming a black hole and bringing death to all around it. This is why the star Betelgeuse is aligned with the unfinished layer pyramid tomb necropolis, city of the dead, of Zayyat el-Aryan in Egypt. Betelgeuse is the Death Star. Beit al-Jaza is the crossroads. Betelgeuse is the stargate. Betelgeuse is the bioexorcist. Death becomes you. See you at the crossroads. Rest in peace.
Shalom. My name is Yahun, the extraterrestrial Israelite, who hovers above the earth in a UFO satellite. Yahweh has blessed me this day, for I shall bring you this great message about the glory of Yahweh's UFO. Yahweh flies through the heavens in a mother-plane UFO craft, which defies imagination. In the Holy Bible, in the book of Genesis, when Adam and Eve heard the voice of Yahweh in the garden, it was Yahweh transmitting his tones from Yahweh's great UFO which hovered above overhead. When Adam and Eve were banished from the garden, Yahweh sent a craft to follow them in the skies. When the prophet Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind, he was beamed aboard Yahweh's UFO. The chariot of fire was Yahweh's UFO. Swing low, sweet chariot, Yahweh's great UFO coming forth, to carry all the Israelites home. In the Holy Bible, the wheel within a wheel seen by the prophet Ezekiel, was in fact Yahweh's rotating flying saucer UFO. In the Holy Bible, one of Yahweh's UFOs appeared as a cloud by day, and fire by night, and hovered between Pharaoh's army and the Israelites. Yahweh fought for the Israelites from his UFO, and the Israelites held their peace. Yahweh shot a polarizing ray beam from his UFO to part the Red Sea for Moses, to allow the Israelites to pass to the Holy Land of Jerusalem. Israel is the Holy Land on earth because it is the favorite landing place of Yahweh's UFO. Just as there is a Holy Land Jerusalem on earth, there is a Holy Planet Jerusalem in outer space. As above, so below, this principle is indicated by one of the sacred symbols Yahweh has given you, the Mogen Dawid, the hexagram, the seal of Solomon, and in 3 dimensions, the Merkabah. Not only earthlings, but all of Yahweh's creatures throughout the boundless universe, including my species, we all dream to take a trip aboard Yahweh's UFO and journey to the holy planet of Jerusalem, in the holy galaxy of Israel. The elite know that Yahweh is an extraterrestrial aboard a UFO, and the angels of the Bible were really extraterrestrials riding aboard Yahweh's UFO. From his UFO, Yahweh has contacted many people on earth. Yahweh contacted all of the holy prophets. From his UFO, Yahweh and the Elohim contacted Rael to start the Raelian movement. Yahweh will give the power to summon UFOs, and permit UFO sightings, to those who regularly praise the tetragrammaton of Yahweh's name. On the day of the rapture, Yahweh will beam all of the righteous aboard his UFO to be with him, to escape the calamities which will befall the earth. Yahweh hovers above the earth in his UFO, like a satellite, an all-seeing eye in the sky, always watching over Yahweh's chosen people, the Israelites. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam. Borei Parai Hagafen. She Hakel Miyet Bigvero. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam, Borei Mini Avasamim. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam. Borei Ma'orei Hayesh. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam. Ham Abdil Bain Kodesh Lakol. Bain or Lachoshek Bain Yisrael La Amem. Bain Yam Hashvai, Lasheshik Yame, Hama Eset. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ham Abdil Bain Kodesh Lakol. Shalom, Israelites.
Star Date. The far distant future. Log of the dreadnought war starship SS Abu Bakari II. Admiral Amir al-Najm, Prince of the Stars at the helm. When other groups of people develop, share, and promote their stories, mythologies, and fictions, they're called creative, innovative, and visionaries. But, when my people do it, we are labeled as eccentrics and criticized and marginalized, sometimes even by our own people, as promoting spookism, misinformation, and escapism. So that's the big difference. Our stories, our mythologies, our fictions, somehow become offensive to people. So we have to learn to stop being afraid of utilizing the divergent thinking of our creative minds. You know, amongst the conscious groups, there's such a strong emphasis and focus on the study of history, and rightfully so, because history provides a people with an identity and information that will aid and guide you in decision making in the present and on into the future. But when we study the history of any of the ancient, indigenous, or aboriginal cultures and societies that any conscious group holds in high esteem, we find that overwhelmingly, they all had some form of mythology or fiction as an integral part of their culture, philosophy, and belief systems. And these mythological and fictional stories often serve as teaching tools to explain phenomena in nature, and to explain cosmology, the origin of life, existence, and the universe. These topics and explanations to existential questions are now offered in the realm of science, so these ancient and mythological stories were in fact science fiction or sci-fi stories. Other terms you find in scholarly texts for these stories are mythological cosmology, symbolic cosmology, astrotheology, stellar theology, space operas, and stellar mythos. All of these terms are synonymous with science fiction, a fictional story, a mythological story, with scientific implications. These stories served as a motivating force which empowered and galvanized their respective groups of people, providing them with the impetus to obtain self-sufficiency, sovereignty, and build great empires, edifices, and monuments, which still stand to this very day. You know, in science, in physics, time and space are considered part of the same fabric in the space-time continuum, so there is a direct scientific relationship between something that is far away in terms of time, and something that is far away in terms of space. Now, light is information, and light travels at a speed of about 300 million meters per second. It takes about 8 minutes for the light from the sun to reach the planet Earth, so when you look at the sun, you are seeing the sun as it was 8 minutes ago. A light year is the distance that light travels in a year. So for example, if there were beings on a planet that was about 5,000 light years away from Earth, those beings would be looking at Earth right now, but seeing Earth as it was 5,000 years ago, when the Egyptian pyramids were being built. I say all that to say, the study of history is similar to the study of otherworldly or extraterrestrial planets. Far gone distant times are similar to far off distant places. Scientifically, both are equally far away in the space-time continuum. When it comes to building sovereign civilizations and societies, for liberation, the study and application of science, technology, engineering, and math is the most practical way forward. It has been shown and proven that science fiction stories serve as motivation and inspiration for people to become scientists, mathematicians, and engineers. Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African American woman to travel into space, was motivated by science fiction movies like E.T., and television show characters like Uhura from Star Trek, to join NASA and become an astronaut. Dr. Ronald Mollett, an African American theoretical physicist, was motivated to become a scientist by reading the science fiction novel entitled The Time Machine by H.G. Wells as a child. In 2011, the Science Channel did a documentary called Prophets of Science Fiction, where they discussed how various science fiction authors like Mary Shelley, Philip K. Dick, H.G. Wells, Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Jules Verne, Gene Roddenberry, and George Lucas influenced the development of scientific advancements by inspiring their audience to become scientists and engineers, who eventually developed and transformed those sci-fi visions into everyday realities in the form of modern technologies. There are even plans to put a science fiction museum in Washington, D.C. as a way to inspire people to take part in the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. The grandfather of black nationalism, Martin Delaney, the first proponent of black nationalism, also published a science fiction story called The Huts of America about a successful slave revolt in the southern states and the founding of a new black country in Cuba. So, you see how science fiction stories have impacted and shaped our modern world. For Africans and people of African descent, our science fiction stories have been interwoven into the fabric of our various mythologies, folklores, and belief systems. Religious and spiritual beliefs are perhaps one of the strongest motivators of people's actions, so a science fiction-based religious doctrine would likely serve as an even stronger motivator and generator for people to become scientists, mathematicians, and technologists, which is why perhaps that the engineers of the various Islamic-oriented black nationalist groups in America have also included a science fiction stellar mythos as part of their respective religious doctrines, and they have been able to organize, galvanize, and motivate their members to build nations. We have heard various backronyms for the word Islam, such as, I self-law am master, and, I sincerely love Allah's mathematics, but considering the stellar mythos found in the doctrines of African American Islamic groups, another possible backronym for the word Islam could be, intergalactic space lessons astronomically manifested. Second to the spiritual systems of ancient Egypt, the religion of Islam is a spiritual system which has significantly impacted and influenced scientific, mathematic, and technological development in the world. Terms like algebra, algorithm, alcohol, admiral, chemistry, and zero, all have origins in Arabic. 2/3 of all the stars that have names, have Arabic names. It is good to study history and ancient mythology. It is okay to entertain yourself with science fiction. However, You do yourself a disservice if you have more knowledge about ancient, historical, mythological, or fictional information than you do about real, modern, and active present practical information. If you are fascinated by historical mythologies, science fiction, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, then allow your fascination, captivation, and preoccupation with mythology, fiction, and fantasy to be transformed into activation energy to take part in the study, design, development, and creation of science and technology. In the future, as Africans begin to explore the cosmos, we will go from the motherland to the mothership, from Afrocentric to astrocentric.